So Navitha is a seasoned product professional and has worked at various startups, including Sharesies and more recently at the agtech startup Hector. To give us an insight into what quality means in her context, please join me in welcoming Navitha Mani.
Hi, everyone. Aaron first said he doesn't want me to preach. I'm not here to preach. You're experts in this field. A little bit about me. I started my career as an engineer and then did several things. I was a Scrum Master, coach, engineering manager, and now I'm a product manager. I was at Sharesies a few years ago and then most recently at Hector, which is an agtech startup based in New Zealand. You might be wondering, why is a product manager here talking to a bunch of testers at a testing conference? I'm not here to talk about your field, but I'm here to talk about quality and what I've learned, the war stories I've learned moving from large enterprise organizations into startups, and how that has changed my perception of what quality is. I want to start the talk by actually focusing on a little bit about the agtech space and why it's important. There's a little bit of trivia, if you could jump in and join with the QR code or go to the website and join there. Great. Sorry, the quiz won't be displayed here. It's on the device. Wow. Almost everyone got that right. Why I wanted to bring in is it's a leeway into what I was doing at Hector. I've recently left Hector a couple of weeks ago to start my own stuff. As you can see, according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, 33% of food that's produced globally goes to waste. And Hector is on a mission to ensure the sustainability of food production, and that's their focus. So how does an agtech startup sitting here in New Zealand help decelerate this food wastage? To understand that, let's look at the fresh food supply chain. We all get all our produce in the supermarkets, that's what we know. This is what the fresh food supply chain looks like. You've got a bunch of growers growing stuff, and they send all their stuff, all the fruits and produce that's harvested is sent to pack houses. Pack houses is essentially a warehouse with specialized conditions to store your fresh produce. As pack houses start getting orders from around the world, right? New Zealand is one of the biggest exporter of fruits. We send cherries, apples, everything all around the world. As they start getting all these orders, they're then sent to distributors who send it to restaurants, grocers, consumers. And what Hector does is they have got two products. The first product focuses on the grower end of the supply chain to reduce food wastage. And the second one focuses on the pack house side of the supply chain to reduce food wastage. I was working on the product which was on the grower side of the supply chain. What they do is they look at everything that's happening in an orchard, right? From how many trees you're planting, what chemicals you're spraying on the trees, who is picking the fruit, under what weather conditions you're picking. So you've got all this data. Now, all the farmers can make informed decisions about the quality of their produce, how much waste is being generated, how can they improve their yield, and how they can generate more revenue. The pack house product is our premium one. What that product does is, as fruit is sent on big trucks and they enter these pack houses, we've got mounted cameras, which has computer vision and machine learning. As the truck goes in, it takes a snapshot of the top of the truck and assesses the produce for quality. So fruit is usually graded based on size and color. How red is an apple? And say your Royal Gala's red would be different from Pink Lady's red. So there's different grades, different sizes. And as they go into pack houses, you need to know this quality, and they have to put in appropriate rooms for optimal storing. Because a pack house accepts fruit from hundreds of farms around. So all Royal Galas have to be stored in one room. And for example, how many of you here knew apples are only harvested 3 months in a year? Gosh, you all knew that. Before I joined, I thought they come all the way around. But they're put in these pack houses and they're there for 1 year. So how they store it is they put it in a room, seal it with nitrogen so it stays fresh. So once you break the seal, you have to optimally distribute the food, otherwise it goes to waste. So these are the two products. I've always worked in enterprises before I went to Sharesies, and then when I went to Hector, it's a whole different world. Most of the products I worked on, I was at Southern Cross, all the products, the challenges were different. It was more understanding the user's context and everything. But coming here, the whole industry was different. First one is field connectivity. Most products, people are sitting in the offices, you've got internet connectivity, you're good to go. But then you take most AgTech products, be it Hector, be it Halter, you're out and about in the field. There's no internet connectivity whatsoever. So what happens is your software should be designed to work offline. And once you come back online, there's a unique set of challenges. There's going to be synchronization issues. Two people are going to be doing the same thing. There's data duplication. How do you handle all this? So all the features, applications, modules we design has to cater for both online and offline modes. Seasonal usage. This is a doozy. All the software I work, like you've all used Canva, Miro, everything, right? You've got users using it day in, day out. You've got real world usage every day. For me, if we look at the products, especially the grower end, you've got 3 months where the product is used. And then for the rest of the time, when it's not harvest, people use it maybe 5 to 10% of the time. So what this means is the T word that nobody likes. Every product, every feature that we release has strict timelines. I get a lot of flack from my team when I say, oh, we've got timeline. We have to release it by December because it's harvest season for apples in January. So everything has to be modeled around the timeline. If we miss a harvest season, we lose revenue for the whole year for that country because we have to wait until the next harvest season. When I was working in enterprise organizations, even Shazi's, right, you don't need to worry about all these things. Once you go to startups, you're so much closer to revenue. And being in a product role, you're seeing it. And so you have to emphasize on those timelines, which the teams don't like. And it's very important that bringing the engineering teams on that journey so they understand why timelines are important, why you don't need to craft perfect solutions. You just need something usable that the users can start using. The third one is geographical needs. Hector's products is used by customers in Europe, North America, South America. We've got New Zealand, Australia. They're now going into South Africa as well. What this means is every country has different regulatory and compliance requirements. So you have to define workflows that cater to it. You're exporting and importing to different countries. For example, New Zealand primarily is an export market, versus US is primarily a domestic market. So their workflows are entirely different. So your product's experience and quality should also be centered around the geographical needs of that market. Even labor-critical markets. For example, in New Zealand, it's a very New Zealand, US, everything is a labor-critical market because there's labor shortage. They bring in seasonal workers. So your workflow has to be different. Versus we compare with South Africa, it's a labor-abundant market. So they don't mind throwing much labor into it. So you have to define a different workflow. So you've got one module that has to cater to all these things. User-based diversity. We've got users who are very, very tech savvy. There's a few customers who've got, they take the data out of our Hector app, integrate it with Snowflake, use Power BI, and they've got real-time statistics. They start planning the next year harvest based on last few years' data. But then other end of the spectrum, we've got customers who are not so literate, which means that literally one customer said, I just want red and green, so I don't need to know what it is. Red button is don't do it, green button is do it. That's it. So you have to design a software that caters to both ends of the spectrum. When I looked at all this and then coming into quality, as a product manager, my core job is to create value to a customer, but also to the business. It's not just delivering what customer wants, but what generates revenue to the business as well. And when I looked at it, what does a product quality mean? I like this very simple definition. It's delivering a product or service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. And like Shay was saying, quality is not a job of one team. It's not a QA team. In both Shazi's and Hector, we never had the luxury of having a QA team with us because they're not big enough. So everybody shares that quality aspect of it. Say, for example, my job as a product manager is to understand the customer context and bring you the right information to my engineering teams, versus the technical and delivery teams, which is engineers and testers, is to make sure that that context is translated into solutions. For a marketing team, quality means that they are marketing the right modules, right products to the right customer bases. So everybody pitches in with quality. Now, taking a segue into, I want to talk about two use cases and how that's changed my perception of what is acceptable, what does it mean to deliver a quality product to market. This first use case is about usability. The module I worked on last year, it's called a spray diary. What it means is you help maintain a spray diary for all users, which is a list of agrochemical spray applications that goes on in a farm. People need to maintain everything that they're spraying for two reasons. One is for compliance and regulatory reasons. You're allowed to use only chemicals that's allowed by certain regulations. The second one is for insights, right? What chemicals? You could be spraying growth chemicals. You want to have all the insights into how is it affecting my yield? Is it impacting any diseases that's coming through it? So you need to have all this data recorded. Growers typically record details such as what am I spraying, what kind of chemical am I spraying, which location am I spraying at, who is doing the spray, what was the weather conditions when I was spraying. So they can use these insights to model next year's data. One key aspect, so how we work is we work as product trios. So we do a discovery and then delivery. We've got like an engineer, a designer, and myself. We sit down, we designed a prototype, and we said, okay, let's go test it out. So how we designed this was, you could see on a Google map, the big block white is, the location's usually a bunch of orchards. A customer will have many farms, they're called orchards. Every orchard is made up of multiple blocks. Every block is then subdivided into sub-blocks, as you can see on the map. So how we designed, it's very straightforward, right? We said, okay, a user comes in, he selects, oh, I'm going to spray today on this orchard, and then he selects one or two blocks he's going to spray in, and then multiple sub-blocks where they're going to spray. So this is how it was. We took this prototype to users and we tested it. Boy, oh boy, we were so wrong. How users think was completely different. In this context, they'll say, oh, I'm going to spray all Royal Gala today because they may need the same growth inhibitors at the same time. So I'm going to spray everything at the same time. Or I'm going to spray all Royal Gala in Orchard X and Y. Or they'll go, I'm going to spray it here, but not here because maybe it's right next to a school. They can't spray on a weekday. They can only do it on a weekend. And that's how users think. We didn't have the context matters. This was literally once the prototype was ready, we did a Friday demo to the whole team. We were so happy. My designer and I were like, oh, we have nailed it. This is our first project. And then we went down to Nelson. We tested it with 8 customers. Not a single one of them, they were like, oh, that's like 10 clicks I have to do. No, I can't do this. It's a busy season. We will not be doing it. The job the users were trying to accomplish was completely different. The context was different. When they were going to pick fruits, right, during harvest season, you're sending a bunch of workers to go harvest fruit. What we had previously made sense. Oh, sorry. This made sense. Orchard block, sub-block made sense in that context when we're going and picking a fruit. But for the job they had today, which was spraying, it didn't make sense because they were trying to accomplish 2 different things. So had we gone into delivery straight away without testing with users, the quality of the experience would be subpar and people wouldn't have onboarded into that module. Second use case I want to give was about efficiency. I think efficiency is a less talked about aspect of quality and people don't, in enterprise organizations, we don't focus on it much. What it means is, does the product allow users to accomplish their task with ease? I want to talk about an onboarding example. Hectare is a B2B product, which means it's sales-led onboarding. Sales team goes and signs a deal, closes a deal, and then we have to onboard our customers into the app. Onboarding involves usually a few things. They have to configure farm structures. Sometimes it's 100 hectares. Some of the customers have got like 1,000 hectares. So you have to configure their farm structure, register all the staff members who are there, customize their timesheet and payroll. Everybody does timesheets differently, overtime, double time, different geographies have different needs, different regulations, so everything has to be customized. When I joined the company, this was one of the things my customer success manager said, oh, my team spends a lot of manual time doing this, can you fix this? In our current state, what happens is, Sales team signs a deal, and then the deal comes into a customer success team or an operations team. They manually set every customer up. So there's a lot of back and forth with the customer. They're asking, how does your timesheet work? Is there a payroll integration we have to do? It anywhere takes between 20 to 40 hours, depending on the size of the farm. And then users can start using the app. How many of you think that's most efficient? Nobody thinks. That's what I thought as well. So we designed an ideal state. Okay, we said, what is it going to look like? We pulled in a tech lead. We said, what does an ideal state look like here? Once a deal is signed, the sales team can put it through. An account has to be provisioned automatically, and users can self-onboard themselves. There's no manual handholding. That's the ideal nirvana state. After prioritization, that was the state we ended up with. And my customer success team was not happy. That's the initial state. And if I had put my engineering hat on, I would have gone with the ideal state, right? Being an engineer, you want to get your hands on all the latest technology. You want to use analytics, insights, and everything. I want to talk about progress over perfection. We spoke to a bunch of, once we finished this ideal state, we just designed it. We haven't delivered the code. We haven't even touched it. We designed what the workflow looks like. We did a little bit of service design. We spoke to a sales team, and then we spoke to a couple of recently onboarded customers, and they were like, nah. They really liked the current state. They really liked the personalized onboarding experience. Most of our customers are not very tech savvy, so they really liked the hand-holding, even if it was taking a lot of time back and forth. And the industry norm is, in the AgTech space, you're not signing 10 customers every day. It's like you might close 10 deals in a quarter based on the season. So our customer success team was not too overwhelmed by it. So we said, it makes sense for today. Once we are in the growth mode, when we are onboarding 10 to 15 customers every week, that's when we need to revisit it. So this was deprioritized. And some of these things are, I know efficiency is important. We have to do it, but it's okay for today to go with whatever existed, what the current state was. And going through the last 3 years working in startups, my mindset has slightly changed of what it means to have quality, what quality means. When I used to work at enterprise organizations, stability and scalability was very, very important because you have to make sure your features and products are reaching a much larger customer base and they are stable. Every deployment is stable. Versus in startups, you're like more agile, you're more speed to market. You need to bring in more money, so you're going to market much, much faster. You don't have the luxury of sitting and testing every single thing, making every single thing as perfect. The second one I see, in my perception, is most enterprises are very risk conscious or risk aware because they have got an established customer base already, so they don't want to cost minimize the disruptions they're doing, versus in startups, you're more experimental. We'll just release changes and use Mixpanel or whatever analytics to see how users are using it. If we see that users are struggling there, then we remove the feature. Everything is done live. But by this, what I'm saying is, it's not okay to release an unusable defect-laden product, but it's okay to go in with a solution that is usable today, accumulate the tech debt for now, but you can fix it later. And the whole time being in startups, my mindset slightly changed, slightly evolved. And one of the key takeaways I would like to emphasize here is understand, adapt, and deliver to context. One of the things is you could design the perfect solutions, right? You can have everything, but if it doesn't match the customer context, it's not usable, thereby degrading quality. It is very important to sit down and talk with customers. My ask is, if you have the luxury of engaging with customers directly, do it. In most of my teams, I work as trios or quads or however it is. Usually myself, my design lead, tech lead, or anyone in the team, data, it could be anyone. We sit down with customers to do discovery. It's not me doing discovery and passing second-hand information. I bring everyone to discovery as well. If you don't have the luxury of talking to customers directly, you've got operations team, customer success team, or other customer-facing teams. They have as much as information. During my time at Southern Cross Health Insurance, I'd sit with our call center people. They know how customers use it. They are the subject matter experts. You get so much knowledge from them. So I'd recommend spending as much time with customer-facing teams to understand what are the jobs that the customers are trying to accomplish, and then make sure that as QA engineers, you're playing a pivotal role that everything that leaves the door is fit for purpose and usable. So having that context will help making sure that it's fit for purpose. The second takeaway is you've got context, which is usually said by the product manager, why are we doing this? And then there's solutions that come in the end, and the designers does something in the middle. If that is all detached, we'll still be writing use cases, test cases, without understanding how did that come from a context into solutions. I think to achieve this, I would recommend spending a lot of time with your product and design people during discovery phase, not just after delivery. It shouldn't be a handover of discovery into delivery. Spend as much time as possible. Can you see that the information flow makes sense? If not, seek that clarity. This is my most favorite takeaway. Embrace agility over perfection. This approach allows us to test real-time usage, gather real feedback, and then improve on that feedback. If you're sitting and getting everything perfect, this is me 10 years ago. If you asked me when I was a developer, I would have like 85% code coverage. All this has to be automated. So my perception has changed now. You need to bring in money in the door for startups, which means that you're testing it with real users. And users are, from what I've seen at least, they're not very pedantic about, oh, this button has to be on the left or right, or all these things need to happen. They're not testing every end use case. So it's okay to release something that's not 100% perfect because you've got the luxury of time later when you sign more customers up. That's pretty much my talk. I hope I've provided you with enough context of what product manager sees as quality. This helps you going further. Thank you.